Thunder Bay Police are investigating the city's fourth homicide of the year. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Ryan Benazzo alongside Haley Perreault. A serious incident in the County Fair area yesterday is now confirmed as a murder.
City police weren't available for interviews about the case today, but in a media release this morning, they say the male victim was rushed to hospital and pronounced dead soon after. Jonathan Wilson has the details.
A large police presence converged in the County Fair area on Tuesday evening. Few details are available at this point, but police were originally called there at around 5:30 p.m. following 911 calls about an injured male. Officers appear to be focusing their efforts on a pathway that runs parallel to the Landmark Hotel. Police have now confirmed that the victim was pronounced dead in hospital, and the case is considered a homicide. Numerous officers and police cruisers were on scene, and a large section of the parking lot behind and beside the hotel was taped off by police. The Major Crimes Unit and the Forensics Unit were brought in, along with a K-9 unit, a police drone, and at least one OPP cruiser. Police did not have a spokesperson available to provide any information about potential suspects or arrest warrants being issued. The public was being advised to continue avoiding the area as the crime scene continues to be held. Anyone with information is asked to contact City Police or Crime Stoppers. Jonathan Wilson, TBT News.
Tragedy on Wabigoon Lake near Dryden last weekend, where 2 people drowned, including a 5-year-old boy. Dryden OPP were called in on Saturday afternoon after the child and a 28-year-old man entered the water and failed to surface. The body of the boy was recovered from the water at Dryden's Flat Rock Park the next morning, and the adult victim was recovered on Sunday evening. The investigation continues. Anyone with information is asked to contact Dryden OPP.
OPP investigated a serious highway collision west of Dryden this morning, and police have now confirmed there was one fatality as a result of the crash. It happened around 9:30 on Highway 17 at the corner of Latimer Road in Oxdrift. The crash involved a pickup truck and a transport. Dryden OPP say the driver of the pickup, a 27-year-old man from Sioux Lookout, was pronounced dead at the scene. A passenger in the transport suffered minor injuries. Police shut down that section of Highway 17 in both directions for most of the day, but it was reopened to traffic just after 5 o'clock.
A 54-year-old man is in hospital with life-threatening injuries after his motorcycle crashed outside of Nallaloo. The single vehicle collision happened just before 8 o'clock Monday evening on Addy Road. Thunder Bay OPP are asking anyone with information about the incident or dash cam footage to contact them or Crime Stoppers.
As the Canada Post strike continues, local mail carriers staged a protest today outside Federal Jobs Minister Patty Hajdu's office.
The nationwide walkout began on Friday after Ottawa announced a plan to cut door-to-door mail service and other changes to Canada Post. The Cup W members were joined by striking college support workers and several other unions. Jaden Billick reports.
Members of the Canadian Union of Postal Workers gathered outside the office of MP Patty Hajdu, the federal jobs minister. They were joined by several other local labor organizations showing unity in support of the national strike. Cup W Local 620 President Leo Favreau says the message of solidarity is much needed as it's been a long 2 years of waiting for Canada Post at the negotiation table.
I understand that there's a possibility that they might put forward an offer today, which I expect to be a lot worse than the last one. It would be nice if it was better and we could actually start negotiations. Let's get negotiations going, or let's go to arbitration and resolve this. I'm tired of being out here. The people are tired of seeing us out here and not getting their mail. Let's work to fixing Canada Post and going back to work.
Favreau says there still has been no conversation with Hajdu, and people need to realize that her government's proposed service cuts will hurt more than help the general public. President of OPSU Local 731, Owen Smith, left their picket line at Confederation College and joined this protest. He says they want to see both strikes end soon.
We're getting lots of food at the picket line, which is great, and hopefully we can get our strike to end, as well as Canada Post. I don't know, one of my friends, I just wanted to say that she had to close her home-based business because of the Canada Post strike. She has severe back issues. Now she's trying to get a job again, and I don't think it's good for her to do this, but she has to support her family. It sucks. Then hopefully they get a deal, and hopefully we get a deal before long.
MPP Lise Faugeois says Canada Post services were never built for profit in the first place, and remote communities that heavily rely will suffer the most without postal offices. She issued a stern message to Haidu and the Carney government.
Frankly, the leadership of the Liberal government is a corporate leadership. They have a corporate philosophy. She needs to actually be advocating on behalf of workers. And if that means going up against her own government, that's what we need to see her do.
Haidu was not in her office to speak with the protesters or the media. The picketers here say they will continue to protest in solidarity. Jaden Billick, TBT News.
Thunder Bay drivers will have to deal with poorly timed red lights on Arthur Street, Red River Road, and the Harbour Expressway for at least another month. The plan to create synchronized traffic lights is facing some more delays. City officials hope to have the new system up and running by July or August, but Engineering Director Matthew Miedema says they've experienced some glitches with the computer software. They're now testing different variations of the timing to ensure they get the best results. If all goes according to plan, motorists should begin seeing a string of green lights in a row sometime in November.
So the traffic synchronization project is progressing well. We have run into some hiccups along the way. Just little bugs within computer. It is very technical advanced what we're trying to do. So there's little kinks here we're working out in the final stages and final pushing the timing out. So there's some kind of refinement of the timing. So we get a timing schedule figured out and we push it out to intersections and see how it operates, and there's some refinement as we go. So we're in those final stages, and we hope in a couple month to 2 months that it'll be an operational for the Harbour Expressway, Arthur Street, and Red River Road.
After this first stage is completed on major east-west corridors, the city will work on synchronization on Balmoral and Waterloo Streets, Memorial Avenue, and Fort William Road.
Thunder Bay OPP have seized more than 10 kilograms of cocaine and arrested 2 people on drug trafficking and firearms charges. The probe began in July, and search warrants were executed at 2 locations in the city on September 19th. Along with the cocaine, police confiscated over 2,000 oxy and hydromorphone pills, a handgun, and $33,000 in cash. A 35-year-old man and a 34-year-old woman from Thunder Bay remain in custody and have their next court date this Friday.
A new report from Ontario's Auditor General calls into question the process to dole out about $750 million in grants through the province's Skills Development Fund.
The report found that more than half the time, the Labour Minister's office overrode the opinions of nonpartisan staff, and that many of those successful applicants may have been given preferential treatment. Here's CTV's John Woodward.
Not fair, transparent, or accountable.
That's the assessment of the province's Auditor General, Shelley Spence, after looking into the multi-billion-dollar Skills Development Fund, a fund trumpeted by the Ford government in many press conferences about training workers, though Spence found many of those programs were given funding despite the assessments of nonpartisan staff.
54% of all approved applications, representing $742 million in funding, were rated poor, low, or medium against the stated program objectives and criteria.
One low-ranking applicant given $4 million even though it had no experience managing government money. Another low-ranking project, just one person to train themselves. That was approved too. $126 million was given to applicants with lobbyists, including one we first told you about, former Premier's office staffer Amin Massoudi, who shepherded an application for at least $11 million to train people working in restaurants.
If you scored high in your application to this program, you didn't get the money. But if you scored low and you had a lobbyist, then you get the money. To me, that is textbook preferential treatment, or in other words, this looks like corruption.
Opposition leader Merritt Stiles calling for an integrity commissioner investigation, as other party leaders said the fund had
turned into a slush fund that smells and feels like the Greenbelt. It's the usual suspects.
Indeed, CTV News reported Massoudi went for a massage with a Greenbelt developer before the $8.5 billion land swap was rolled back. Massoudi has told CTV News everything in his application was above board. Ontario's Labour Minister appearing virtually at an afternoon press conference.
Did this government really spend hundreds of millions of dollars on low-ranked projects for connected people? Look, I believe in the power of our skills development fund to change lives. And we know with a rapidly changing environment where we need to train workers to meet the disruptive needs of the workforce, that rapid training initiatives work.
A line opposition politicians didn't buy.
That was CTV's John Woodward. And that wasn't the only issue flagged by the Auditor General today. She also found that there are major hurdles in this province in the implementation of Canada's $10 a day childcare plan. There are major concerns about housing as well. CTV's Siobhan Morris reports.
The Canada-wide Early Learning and Childcare program came with the promise to be a lifeline for scores of Ontario parents. But the Auditor General finds the province is off target in creating new daycare spaces, the percentage of qualified staff, and fees.
The $10 a day is achievable, but the next day it may be a problem.
Shelley Spence says the program is about $2 billion short. The funding agreement between Ontario and Ottawa expires at the end of March. The Minister of Education says the feds need to pony up more, but talks haven't really started.
I don't want to make it seem like they're being difficult. They've just had a lot of other things that they've been focused on, but I think parents are also focused on a lot of things and they want some certainty.
While there are more daycare spaces than there were 5 years ago, lower income families aren't getting into them.
There were 31% fewer spaces because of the increasing demand for those lower income families that received this fee subsidy.
In 2023, some 80,000 funded spots sat empty, almost half of the operators in the program running below capacity. There is a website in the works to centralize wait lists and help families find childcare spaces, but it won't be ready until 2029. I asked the minister responsible if he's okay with that timeline.
I'm not comfortable with that. We've got to move very quickly, and I will be tasking the department to move quicker.
The auditor finds the Home Construction Regulation Authority isn't doing thorough checks and licensing the bodies that build and sell new homes, only checking a credit score, not performance records, or requiring the people overseeing builds to have updated qualifications.
So it's really doing a lot more checking of that application and not just fast tracking it.
The government's reluctant to call for ongoing education until it knows what it will mean for the pace of home building. At Queen's Park, Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
Delaney Arena has now fully reopened to the public. After months of renovations, officials say the facility is back up to its usual standards. The $2.5 million project started back in April after repeated floor failures affected the coolant system. The problem resulted in reduced operations for all of last season. Everything has now been replaced, including the concrete slab, the under insulation, the rink boards, and the glass. The facility is also back to its normal operating hours from 8 a.m. to midnight every day. Capitol Facilities Construction Manager Kelvin Jankowski says the arena also has new penalty boxes and reconfigured stands.
So we separated the patrons from the users that'll keep the skaters and coaches to one side, referees and scorekeepers, and the other side will be dedicated for spectators only.
This is probably our busiest city arena. All the patrons seem to love it. All Thunder Bay Minor plays here quite a bit. And the other smaller kids also play here, but it's jam-packed pretty on every weeknight.
Jankowski notes there's still additional work that needs to be done as long as they can get the funding. That work includes lobby enhancements, additional stands, as well as a new chiller and control panel.
Well, it's hard to believe that hockey season is just about upon us now in the city, Fiona, because we continue to see temperatures that are well above normal for this time of year.
Absolutely, and it's almost as though summer is returning already. It's very strange. Every time we think we're heading towards more fall temperatures, we get another boost. And today we had a low of 12, a high of 19. 19 is a good 5 degrees above normal. Even the overnight low is well above what it should be for this time of year. And we did have mostly cloudy skies. The winds were, for the most part, fairly consistent, east-southeast from about 14 to 20 k. It's only been in the last couple of hours that they've kicked up a notch up to 33 kilometers an hour. And lots of sunshine today throughout northwestern Ontario. Now, Fort Frances still very sunny, and they're at their high for the day of 26. The Humidex has been sitting at 29 for the last 5 hours straight, so they're heading into a very warm evening. As you head further north, they were partly cloudy most of the day. It's just been in the last hour. Clouds have started to roll in, but they're very similar temperatures in Red Lake at 24. A little bit cooler in Kenora, but we've got the 20s through much of the region. North of Lake Superior, 16 in Armstrong, 17 in Greenstone, but again, that is still about 5 degrees warmer than expected for this time of year. Now, they had sunshine all day to the north of the lake, and the clouds have just started to roll in the last hour or so, and it's due to a system that's going to be coming in from the west, but I'll tell you more about that later on in the newscast. Sault Ste. Marie, comparatively speaking, a fairly gray day. They've been mostly cloudy throughout the day and continue to be so, but they're still enjoying above seasonal temperatures, not as much as we are, but pretty close, 17 Celsius, 15 in both Wawa and Marathon. Now, for tonight in the city of Thunder Bay, it's going to be another mild low, just 11 Celsius with some fog patches developing. Winds will be very, very light from the east, and that is going to set the stage for some warmer temperatures. If you like what's going on in Fort Frances and Red Lake, well, it's heading our way, and it looks like summer will be back tomorrow.
All right, kind of running out of ways to
complain,
throw to these weather segments, but yeah, I'm not going to complain. All right, thanks a lot, Fiona.